Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So new episode of Game of Thrones tonight, and I thought we'd talk about someone who is notably absent from the first episode, Arya, who is on her way to Braavos the last time we saw her. This is mostly going to be about the Faceless Men and the House of Black and White, the place that Arya is going to, the place that she's using Jaqen H'ghar's coin to get to. Just careful for spoilers on everything that's happened on the show so far. Right now, our point of entry to the Faceless Men is Jaqen H'ghar, someone we haven't seen in a long time. Arya Stark spent most of Season 3 and Season 4 massaging that coin that he gave her, the Braavosi coin. His instructions to her were that she could give that coin to any Braavosi captain and it would secure her passage to Braavos if she wanted. Not a whole lot of explaining beyond that, but it's a really big deal, which is why when she gave the coin to the captain at the end of Season 4, he pooped his pants a little bit. For the most part, you can think of the Faceless Men as a quasi-religious order of assassins that's headquartered in Braavos. Their home base is the House of Black and White, which is a temple of worship, so they serve a lot of functions beyond just killing people. Like all religious orders, they do worship a god, the many-faced god, but inside the temple of Black and White, there are altars to many, many, many gods. It's a nice twist on the idea of the many-faced god, but the many-faced god is a single deity with many different aspects. A lot of people think that the many-faced god is also the Stranger, one of the Andal's 7 gods. George R. R. Martin hasn't confirmed or denied this, so it's still open to speculation. The reason why the Faceless Men are so cool is because they, for all intents and purposes, are the best assassins in the world, the most highly trained assassins. They're also the most expensive. If you remember way back in Season 1, during the small council meeting, they were trying to figure out what to do with Daenerys Targaryen when they first heard that she was marrying Khal Drogo. Someone tossed out that they should just hire Faceless Men to take care of her, but they decided that it was way too expensive. Way too expensive for Robert Baratheon. He's obviously in a lot of debt, so in order to hire a Faceless Man, you have to be incredibly rich. That's why anytime a Faceless Man pops up in the books, people always wonder if one of the Lords of Westeros, or like the Martells, or the Iron Bank of Braavos hired them, just because there are only a handful of people that could legitimately afford them. The takeaway is that if there's an assassination plot going on somewhere in the world, there's probably someone incredibly rich behind it. They don't just kill people on whim, they have very specific rules. It's unclear how the show's going to change this. Typically, whenever the show does like a really big group from the books, it simplifies things, so they might just hit the really big signposts. The Faceless Men actually have a really interesting history that go way back to the time of the Valyrians. They started out in the Valyrian slave mines. I know a lot of people theorize that the Valyrian doom is tied to overmining in the Valyrian Peninsula. A big part of the Valyrians' MO is that they converted conquered peoples into slave workers to work in their mines. The volcanoes that eventually went nuclear around Valyria were just really rich in minerals. So in these slave mines, you had people speaking all kinds of different languages because the Valyrians had conquered so many different lands. As really put upon slaves were wont to do, they prayed for deliverance from death from each of their gods that they worshipped. Other slaves heard these whispers to all these different gods and decided all these different slaves were praying to the same god. That became the basis of the many-faced god. So what you have is many gods, many faces becoming one god with many faces, many aspects. The slaves essentially started giving gifts of mercy or deliverance to people that asked for it. The Faceless Men's gift of mercy is essentially the gift of death, the gift of deliverance from the burden of life. You can think of it as assisted suicide, so the Faceless Men don't kill with malice, they kill to help people. So now you have an idea of why Jaqen H'ghar is so zen about killing all those people at Harrenhal for Arya. The circumstances for those events were slightly different. He was paying a debt to Arya. Like I said, they do work as mercenaries, so you can pay them and name someone to be killed. After the Doom in Valyria, though, they established themselves as a proper order in Braavos and created the Temple of Black and White. I did do a video about the map of Braavos and where, big locations were inside the city, so I might do an update of that just because that video is super old. Technically, inside their order, Faceless Man is just one of many functions. So not all people that work inside that Temple of Black and White that join their order become Faceless Men. And there are also women too. So, technically you'd be a faceless woman in that case. I'm expecting the show to cut out a bunch of stuff. So don't worry. Whenever we see them, I'll explain some of the changes that they made from the books. I know a lot of people are wondering how Jaqen H'ghar changed his face. You can think of it as more of a technique than magic, like glamoring. Just to make the distinction between the two, in both cases, you're changing your appearance, but glamoring is full-on magic, like you change your entire appearance. Faceless Men just change their faces, but they can change their facial structure too. So one is magic, the other is just a practical technique, but it does involve using someone else's face, as in like a mask. Sometimes when people die, especially at their temple, they'll take their faces, they'll take the dead people's faces so that they can use them later as disguises. What I'm hoping is that we'll get to see them do this on the show. I know it sounds like a really gruesome practice, but it's actually pretty cool. Inside the House of Black and White, there is a series of sublevels, with specific functions being performed on each. There are a number of different people you might bump into inside the House of Black and White. You have priests, acolytes, faceless men, and then you have people who come to worship, or people who come to die. A lot of people come to the faceless men to receive the gift of death. The Temple of Black and White, though, is most famous for its faceless men, and, depending on who the target is, their price goes up. There's always the question as to what they do with the money that they earn. The interesting thing, though, is that there is no target that is too big. You can ask them to kill anyone as long as you can meet their price. So, for instance, if you ask them to kill just like a street thug, they might not charge you a lot of money. But if you wanted them to kill Daenerys Targaryen, they would probably charge you enough to buy a small kingdom. Everybody knows about their two big Valyrian sayings on the show. Valar Morghulis, all men must die, and Valar Dohaeris, all men must serve. I think, the faceless men is somewhat of a combination of that, like the idea behind them. All men must serve death. Arya's on this really interesting path. We see her recite her prayer all the time. She keeps adding names to the list. So the tease is that hopefully at some point she will gain the skills of the faceless men and take revenge on all these people. But revenge isn't part of the faceless men's MO, so it's a bit of a paradox. If she becomes a faceless man, she won't be able to get revenge on these people unless someone else hires her to kill them. Jaqen H'ghar, for instance, in the previous seasons, he doesn't just go around killing whoever he wants. He has very specific targets that are given to him. He gets sent on missions just like any other mercenary. So the really big question for Arya is if she's going to be able to let go of her desire for revenge to become this new person that she's trying to be, this new faceless person. That's actually a good jumping off point. So here's my big question for you guys. Do you think that Arya, if she wants to become a faceless person, is going to be able to put aside her desire to kill all these people back in Westeros? Ultimately, thinking forward to like book 6, 7, whatever beyond that, I don't think she's going to be able to do it. A good sidestep is Jon Snow and his vows to the Night's Watch. Think about all the things that he did when he was on the side mission in season 3, when he was trying to infiltrate the wildlings. He broke a lot of his vows, even though it was for a good reason. I think the same thing is going to happen to Arya. She's going to end up breaking whatever vows she ends up making, whatever new vows she makes in the name of justice. That's one of the most fun things to watch on the show, is it's like, can these characters, especially the younger characters, commit to really elaborate plans and set aside, the things that they really want. So everybody get really pumped to see Bravos tonight. And don't forget, new round of the giveaway starts whenever I post my episode 2 review. I'll post that after the episode airs. Be sure to subscribe to get it if you're just finding me for the first time. Just in case you guys are confused too, I named the giveaway winners in my Q&A videos that I post on Monday night. So while you guys wait for all that stuff to post, you can click here for my episode 1 video, and you can click here to learn all about the Sons of the Harpy, that group inside Marine. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.